All right, so we're going to be digging into the secrets of building true wealth today.
Yeah.
And we're going to be taking a deep dive into some source material that caught my eye because it takes a pretty unexpected approach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It uses a farming analogy to talk about wealth building.
I know, right? Not your typical Wall Street strategy talk.
Oh, wow.
The source we're looking at is a podcast episode that dives into a book called The Untold Secret That Creates True Wealth.
Right.
And the central metaphor they use is the parable of the sower. Which honestly is pretty brilliant when you think about it.
Okay, you've got me intrigued. But before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Sure.
Can you refresh my memory on the parable of the sower?
Yeah.
It's been a minute since Sunday school.
Sure thing.
Okay.
So the parable is all about a farmer who's scattering seeds, right? But those seeds land on different types of ground.
Okay.
Some fall on hard soil where they can't take root.
Right.
Others land on rocky ground where they sprout quickly, but wither just as fast.
Okay.
Because they don't have a strong foundation.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going.
Exactly. Then there are the seeds that fall among thorns. They start to grow, but they get choked out by weeds and distractions. And finally, you have the seeds that land on fertile soil.
Right.
Those are the ones that thrive and produce a bountiful harvest.
So the untold secret to wealth has something to do with being fertile soil for financial success.
That's the idea.
I like it.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like in the real world?
Well, the authors argue that just like those different types of soil, we all have different mindsets and environments that can either help or hinder our ability to grow wealth. Think about it. Have you ever had a goal or a project that just seemed to hit a wall, like you were stuck on that rocky ground?
Oh, have I ever.
Okay.
I remember when I first started freelancing, I was so excited to be my own boss. But I totally underestimated the amount of discipline and organization it takes to make it work.
Oh, I bet.
I definitely felt like I was on that thorny ground, getting pulled in a million directions and losing sight of my goals.
Exactly. And that's where this parable gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because it suggests that we're not just victims of circumstance.
Right.
We have the power to cultivate that fertile soil mindset, to create the right conditions for success, to take root and flourish.
All right, so let's say we're ready to ditch the rocky ground and till that fertile soil.
Okay.
How do we actually do that? The podcast gives some real-world examples, right?
They do, and they're not who you might expect.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they highlight figures like Penney, the founder of the retail giant, but they don't focus on his business acumen.
Okay.
Instead, they zoom in on his deep commitment to the golden rule.
So it's not just about being savvy.
Right.
It's about leading with integrity.
Right. Penney famously said, golden rule principles are just as practical in business as they are in the home or in church. He believed in treating his employees and customers with fairness and respect, and he built his entire business philosophy around that.
It makes you wonder, was that unwavering commitment to his values a key factor in his success?
That's what they're saying.
It's not just about profits. It's about building something with a solid ethical foundation.
And that's what the podcast argues contributes to true wealth.
Okay.
Another example they give is Mary Kay Ash.
Right.
The founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. She was a trailblazer for women in business.
Yeah.
But her priorities were always clear. God first, family second, and career third.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
And it totally reframes what success looks like. It's not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about aligning your professional life with your personal values.
Right.
And finding that sense of harmony.
Exactly. And it's interesting because Mary Kay's approach wasn't just about personal fulfillment. It was also incredibly effective in building a thriving business. She created a supportive environment for women to achieve financial independence.
Right.
And that became a huge driver of her company's success.
So it's like her values weren't just a nice to have.
Yeah.
They were actually a core part of her business strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. These examples are giving me a lot to think about. Did they mention any other entrepreneurs who exemplified this approach?
You bet. They also discussed Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A.
Oh, interesting. I've always admired their commitment to customer service.
Yes. But they focused on something even more unique.
Okay.
Cathy's decision to close all of his restaurants on Sundays.
Wow, that must have been a controversial move, especially in the fast food industry.
It was. But Cathy was unwavering in his belief that his employees deserved a day of rest.
Right.
And that his faith was a non-negotiable part of his life.
So he was willing to potentially sacrifice profits to stay true to his values.
That's right.
And it's fascinating because it didn't seem to hurt his business in the long run. If anything, it probably strengthened his brand and earned him even more respect from his customers.
Yeah, it goes back to that idea of aligning your actions with your values,
Right.
even when it's difficult or unconventional. And it raises an important question.
Okay.
What if success isn't just about maximizing profits,
Right.
but about finding that sweet spot where your business aligns with your deeper sense of purpose?
Okay, now we're really getting into the true wealth territory.
Exactly.
I'm all ears. Let's break that down even further.
All right.
All right, so we've established that true wealth goes beyond just dollar signs.
Yeah.
The podcast keeps hinting at this idea,
Yeah.
but they don't really spell it out.
Uh-huh.
What are the other ingredients that go into this recipe for a fulfilling life?
That's where things get really interesting because the podcast challenges us to expand our definition of wealth.
Okay.
They argue that it's about cultivating a life that's rich in multiple dimensions, not just financially.
Okay, so beyond fat stacks of cash.
Right.
What are we talking about here?
Think about it this way. What good is a mountain of money if you're surrounded by broken relationships? Or if you feel spiritually empty?
Yeah.
The podcast suggests that true wealth includes things like strong relationships, a sense of purpose, spiritual fulfillment, and having a positive impact on the world.
So it's a much more holistic view. It's not just about what you accumulate. It's about how you live your life.
Right.
And the legacy you leave behind.
Exactly.
But I'm curious, how do these other aspects of true wealth connect back to the parable of the sower?
Okay.
We've been focusing so much on the fertile soil for financial success. But how does that translate to these other areas of life?
That's a great question, and it brings us back to the idea of mindset.
Okay.
The principles of cultivating fertile soil can actually be applied to any area of life where you're seeking growth and fulfillment.
Let's unpack that a bit. For example, how does the idea of rocky ground show up in relationships?
Well, think about a time when you might have given up on a friendship or a romantic relationship too quickly.
Okay.
Maybe you hit a rough patch, and instead of communicating and working through it, you just bailed because it was easier.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. It's like that instant gratification mindset creeping into relationships.
Yeah.
We expect everything to be smooth sailing, and as soon as things get a little rocky,
Right.
we jump ship.
Exactly. And the podcast would argue that that's a sign of being on that rocky ground. We haven't developed the resilience and commitment needed to weather the storms that inevitably arise in any close relationship.
So how do we shift from that rocky ground to fertile soil when it comes to relationships?
Okay.
Because let's be real, relationships take work.
They absolutely do. But that work can be incredibly rewarding when you have the right mindset.
Okay.
It's about shifting from a transactional view of relationships to one that's based on mutual respect, empathy, and a willingness to show up for each other even when it's hard.
It's about playing the long game, investing in those connections and nurturing them over time.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the same principles apply to cultivating spiritual fulfillment.
Okay.
It's not something that just happens overnight. It requires intention, exploration, and a willingness to be open to new ideas and experiences.
I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together. It's like that fertile soil mindset is the foundation for growth in all areas of life.
Right.
It's about creating the right conditions internally for abundance to flourish.
And it's about understanding that true wealth is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's about constantly evolving, learning, and expanding our capacity for love, joy, and fulfillment.
Okay. I'm totally on board with this expanded definition of wealth.
Good.
But let's get practical for a minute.
Okay.
The podcast mentions a few actionable steps we can take to cultivate that fertile soil mindset. Can you walk me through those?
Of course. One of the most important steps is developing self-awareness. It's about taking a step back and honestly assessing your current mindset. What are your strengths?
Right.
What are your blind spots?
Okay.
What are the patterns and habits that are holding you back?
So it's like taking inventory of our internal landscape, identifying the rocky ground or the thorns.
Yeah.
That might be preventing us from reaching our full potential.
Exactly. And once you have a better understanding of your own internal terrain, you can start to make conscious choices about how to cultivate those areas that need more attention.
It's about being proactive.
Right.
Not just letting life happen to us, but taking ownership of our growth and development.
And another crucial step is embracing continuous learning.
Okay.
This is where it gets really exciting.
Right.
Because the podcast emphasizes that true wealth is fueled by a thirst for knowledge and a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone.
I love this. It's about being a lifelong learner, always curious, always exploring, always pushing ourselves to grow. It makes me think about all the books I've been meaning to read, the podcasts I've bookmarked, the courses I've been wanting to take.
Exactly. But it's not just about consuming information, it's about applying it.
Right.
It's about taking those ideas and insights and experimenting with them in your own life, seeing what works, what doesn't, and learning from those experiences.
So it's about taking action, even if it's imperfect action.
Yes.
Because that's how we learn and grow.
Right.
Okay, what else is on the list for cultivating that fertile soil mindset?
Another crucial element is aligning your actions with your values.
Right.
We saw this in the examples of J.C. Penney, Mary Kay Ash, and Truett Cathy. They were all incredibly successful in their respective fields.
Right.
But their success wasn't driven by a blind pursuit of profits. They had strong values that guided their decisions and actions.
It's about that integrity piece, right?
Yeah.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Right. It's about making sure that your daily choices and actions are in alignment with your core beliefs. And it's interesting because the podcast suggests that when you're living in alignment with your values, you naturally attract the right people and opportunities into your life.
It's like that energy of authenticity creates a magnetic force.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it creates a sense of inner peace and fulfillment because you're not constantly battling against your own conscience. You're living in a way that feels true and meaningful to you.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this fertile soil mindset goes way beyond just business or finances.
Right.
It's a blueprint for living a life of purpose and integrity.
And here's another key ingredient that might surprise you.
Okay.
Resilience.
Okay.
Because, let's be real, life throws curveballs. There are going to be setbacks, disappointments, and challenges along the way.
No doubt about it. I've had my fair share of thorny ground moments where I wanted to give up on my dreams.
Right. And the podcast emphasizes that developing resilience is crucial for navigating those inevitable ups and downs. It's about having the grit and determination to pick yourself up after a fall. Learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward.
You know what I'm realizing is that resilience isn't just about gritting our teeth and powering through.
Yeah.
It's also about knowing when to pivot, when to adjust our course, and when to ask for help.
Right.
It's about having the humility to acknowledge when we need support and the wisdom to know where to find it.
Absolutely. And it's about cultivating that growth mindset, that belief that we are capable of learning and evolving, even in the face of setbacks. It's about seeing challenges as opportunities for growth, not as signs of failure.
So scars can be a sign of strength, not weakness.
I love that.
They're a reminder that we've been through tough times and come out stronger on the other side.
And finally, the podcast emphasizes the importance of community building.
Okay.
Because true wealth isn't just about individual achievement. It's about connection, collaboration, and contribution.
Ah, the power of human connection.
Right.
I've definitely found that having a supportive network of friends, family, and mentors has been crucial for my own growth and well-being.
It makes all the difference, right? Because we're not meant to do this thing called life alone.
Yeah.
We need those people who cheer us on, challenge us to be our best, and offer a helping hand when we stumble.
It's about creating that ecosystem of support, that fertile ground where we can all thrive together.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that true wealth is often created through collaboration, not competition.
Okay.
It's about sharing ideas, resources, and support to create a better world for everyone.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah.
I'm feeling inspired to step up my fertile soil game in all areas of my life.
Good.
But I have to admit, I'm still curious about that other book the podcast mentioned.
Okay.
You know, the one about the 100 inspiring Americans?
Ah, yes. True Wealth by the Book.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fascinating exploration of how these principles have played out in the lives of some remarkable individuals. But that's a conversation for another deep dive.
I'm already adding it to my reading list. But before we get sidetracked,
Sure.
I think it's time to bring it all together.
Okay.
We've covered so much ground today. What are the key takeaways from this deep dive into true wealth?
All right.
So we've explored this whole idea of true wealth, you know, not just about the money,
Right.
but about relationships and purpose, spiritual growth,
Yeah.
making a difference.
Yeah.
It's a lot to digest. What stands out to you?
It's pretty amazing how the parable of the sower, something so simple can apply to so many areas, really shows how we can set ourselves up for success.
It's not just luck, right? It's
Yeah.
about taking control and creating that fertile soil.
Exactly.
Well, what's that look like practically? How do we take action?
One thing that really hit home for me
Okay.
is aligning your actions with your values.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just for business. It's about making sure your life matches what you believe in.
Yeah, otherwise it's like we're fighting ourselves.
Exactly.
Saying one thing but doing another. It's exhausting.
It is. And when you're living in alignment,
Yeah.
it impacts everything. Your relationships, your work, your impact on the world.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
It's like be the change you want to see.
Exactly.
Starts with us.
Yeah.
But let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
Staying true to our values can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
How do we stay grounded when things get hard?
That's where resilience comes in.
Okay.
Challenges are going to happen.
For sure.
But it's how we react that matters.
Right.
It's about bouncing back, learning from mistakes, and keeping going.
You know, I think resilience is also about knowing when to change direction,
Yeah.
when to adjust,
Yeah.
and when to ask for help.
Right.
We got to be humble enough to admit we need support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And having a growth mindset, believing we can learn and grow even when things are tough.
Yeah. Challenges become opportunities,
I like that.
not failures.
So values, resilience, growth mindset. What else?
What else helps us build that fertile soil?
Gratitude is huge.
Okay.
Appreciating what we have, celebrating wins, acknowledging others.
It's easy to always want more
It is.
and forget what we already have.
Gratitude helps us focus on the good.
Right. What you focus on expands.
Exactly. If we're always looking at what's missing, that's all we'll see.
Yeah. But focus on what we're thankful for, and we open ourselves up to more.
And gratitude often leads to generosity.
Oh, that makes sense.
When we appreciate what we have, we want to share.
It's like that giving and receiving cycle.
It is. The more we give, the more we get.
This has been an awesome deep dive.
It has.
We've learned so much about building a truly wealthy life.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you want listeners to take away?
True wealth is more than just money.
Okay.
It's about building a life full of meaning, purpose, and connection.
Right. And it starts by building that fertile soil within.
Exactly. We have to nurture resilience, gratitude, and alignment.
It's a journey, right?
It is.
It's not about the finish line, but about learning and growing along the way.
Well said. Embracing challenges, celebrating wins, staying true to ourselves.
This is a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
It can bring amazing rewards for us and the world.
It can.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into true wealth.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you got some great ideas to cultivate your own fertile soil and watch your success grow